Hello and welcome back to the Superhuman Lab podcast, where we dissect everything superhuman. I'm your host tonight, Blake. Unfortunately, Ethan cannot be here with us tonight as the time difference between the US and the UK and with our special guest, it kind of just didn't mix very well. But you guys are still joined by me and our guest tonight. First, before we even get to the introduction, to the questions, to the Minute Marvel, to all of the other stuff, I just want to talk about real quick to you guys what 2023 is going to look like for the Superhuman Lab podcast. Not a lot is going to change. New episodes every Thursday still. We're still uploading to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, any of the things that you can think of, we're uploading. So be on the lookout for that. We are very active on social media as well. So if you guys want to follow us on social media, it's at the Superhuman Lab podcast. And also special guest today also for the 2023, the start of the year, has a little surprise for us. So let's introduce our special guest. He is someone with the greatest game tags I have ever seen. And, well, he's just the Grandmaster Gamer. He is one of my newest friends that I had just met a little over 5 years ago, but he has become very close with me, very close with my community, and very close friend of mine. So, ladies and gentlemen, Grandmaster Gamer, a.k.a. Ian.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the show, Ian. Hopefully you are prepared with some Marvel question, or hopefully you are ready for some Marvel answers and some DC answers. But go ahead and just talk about a little bit about yourself real quick, what you do, and just introduce everybody who you are.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I am 26, basically. I work in a family business from Kansas. Not anything crazy. Went to college, played football, and I'm just a Midwestern boy. Don't do anything crazy. Game with good old Blake here. Just good, close friends. And got to know each other through that, grew the relationship, and here to talk about some superhuman people.
Yeah, we have, honestly, obviously friendship doesn't go back very far. I met you through my cousin Austin, so brand new friends. But I would say it's one of those things with us that we have just grown, through games, through texting, fantasy football, all this stuff. So slowly growing through stuff like that.
Yes, and it's been a fun time too. We enjoy it thoroughly every time. That's the best part. Yeah. There's never any downsides.
So, Ian, I know you had a special surprise for us. If you would actually like to share, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a picture of what he's talking about. For those that are listening on Spotify or any other listening for podcast thing, I'll explain it after he is done explaining it, just in case, and we'll talk about kind of what to do for after that. But Ian, go ahead and talk about what you got for us.
Sure thing. So I actually came across something throughout the holiday season, and as a listener and a fan, obviously, and a supporter, I would love to give and see if somebody can enjoy this. I found a Iron Man glove that has the Infinity Stones in it, and I'm giving it to the podcast, and they are welcome to do with it as they please.
So if you don't know what he's talking about, and again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it right here. It's the same exact one. But if you are listening, again, I'll kind of explain it. But if you remember from Avengers Endgame, they had to make a whole new gauntlet after coming back, and they had to all get together and put together this new gauntlet that Hulk uses the snap, that Iron Man uses the snap. And it's that exact one. It's a very cool, very awesome product. I've had it in the background of my stream. I actually have a funny story about this, very quick story, but I had seen on a Twitter post that this was coming out about a year and a half ago, and I pre-ordered it from Disney.com for $150 because it was a pre-order, and thinking that they weren't going to drop that many, and then found out that they were dropping them to GameStop and Disney and all these other websites. Amazon now has it, but it took me 7 months to get this, so for me it's special.
Oh my gosh.
But that's really cool because you can take the stones out and the lights come on and stuff like that. I'll turn it on real quick so you guys can kind of see. Every stone comes out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty authentic. It looks good too.
Yes.
I believe it just overall looks really well done.
Yes, it's a very nice, and when you put your hand in it, you have full. It's not one of those things you just put your hand in. You can move your fingers around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fully functional, so it's awesome. And it's awesome that you're giving that away. We will be doing that as a giveaway here with the Superhuman Lab podcast. To enter, here is how you enter. First of all, I just want to talk about how to enter and the different ways to do it. You must be following us on Twitter, which is at super_human_lab. We are going to have a tweet put up. It'll be up by the time you guys are listening to this podcast. episode. So it is going to be, you need to make sure you're following the Twitter page, make sure you at somebody in underneath the comments. And when you at your person, tell us your favorite superhuman or superhero or villain. Or if you just want to say your favorite TV show, that's fine too. So, or movie. So that is the 3 ways to enter. Again, follow us on Twitter, at somebody underneath the thing, underneath the tweet, and tell us your favorite movie, superhero, or villain. And if you guys want to, make sure you like and retweet the tweet, because that way it gets seen by more people. And that's just another way to get you guys a ticket to enter. So we'll make that tweet and it'll be more clear in the tweet. But yep, check Twitter for at super_human_lab to enter. And Ian, thank you again for giving that away for us. We really, really appreciate that. It's amazing. So let's go ahead and get into episode number 4 here. And just starting off, we have done quite a few things now. I didn't tell you this going into this for this reason only. But as a listener, I'm sure you know, but also for all our listeners that are listening again, the Superhuman Lab podcast always starts our episode after the intro to the guest, obviously, with either Team Iron Man or Team Captain America. We have to know. It's a season 1 tradition. We have the counter up on the screen now. We know that it's 3-1 in favor of Iron Man right now. I was Team Iron Man. Nick was Team Iron Man. Kenny was Team Iron Man. Ethan is Team Captain America. So we need to know, what side are you on?
So I'll preface this by, this is really hard for me, specifically because the first ever Marvel movie that I went and saw was the original Iron Man. And I actually own it on Blu-ray because of that fact. Like, it just meant a lot to me. But the crazy part is, I enjoy the story of Captain America more. And I gotta say, I'm Team Captain America.
Oh, there we go. You would make Ethan so proud right now, because he is all alone on the Team Cap side. And Iron Man was starting to run away with it. So it's a good thing to hear.
Well, and I enjoy, like, both the characters. I think they were so well done. And I mean, just because I was kind of looking at some of the comic book backgrounds too, because I'm not a big comic book guy, but I am looking at the history of everything. I mean, they go back so far.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, as some of the original characters, and just seeing all the background information you truly get through that, like the side stories and all that, they really just have so much built around them. And it's kind of cool to see that. And, but I just enjoy, like, the upcoming story of Captain America, even though Iron Man, I mean, obviously everybody wants to be a tech genius, especially in nowadays.
And a billionaire.
Yes, and a billionaire. But I mean, just to have that kind of story is so cool, and how they wrapped Captain America up in the MCU, to me, was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I feel like you're one of those that is not like, I hate Iron Man, I'm definitely Team Captain America. I hate Captain America, I'm definitely Team Iron Man. So it's like, I think you're our first person that, like, other than maybe Nick. Nick was, I think, kind of lenient, but he was definitely Team Iron Man. Kenny definitely hated Captain America. We knew that from going into it. And then everybody knows my story with Captain America. So he's been getting a lot of hate on this podcast, and I'm actually very glad that finally somebody is giving him some love for once, because he wasn't getting nothing on this podcast so far. We've had some viewers. I've seen a TikTok comment saying Captain America would destroy Iron Man. And so we have Captain America fans out there, and I promise you this podcast is not just an Iron Man fan podcast. I promise you. But it's awesome to have a Captain America fan finally.
Yes, I would gladly support him.
So moving on to, like, obviously we got you kind of explained a little bit about what the first Iron Man movie meant to you, how you now own it on Blu-ray for that sole reason that was your first, superhero movie. What are some of the earliest memories you have, like, with superheroes? Not only, like, as a kid, but maybe even, like, as growing up, maybe teenager and stuff like that. Do you have any, like, really early memories with superheroes?
So I mean, as a kid growing up, obviously you have the shows, like, on the DC side of things, I was a huge fan of Teen Titans. So, like, when I grew up, I religiously watched that show. Obviously, as a kid, I'm like, I don't know what the storyline to this is, but I'm gonna watch it.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. There's like that teen angst to the show. There's, it's kind of like, it's got the parts that are slice of life, but it's got really good action. And I mean, the movies were always cool. But yeah, Teen Titans always meant a lot to me, so I was kind of excited that I think they are either in the midst or they're making a TV show of Titans is what it's called.
Yeah, they have it right
So
now.
yeah, so I was thinking about looking at that. They put Teen Titans on one of the streaming services like Hulu or
Right.
something. So I watched a couple episodes, but um I was a Spider-Man fan for a little while when I was like in my teenage years. I mean, Spider-Man
Yeah.
was always just kind of that hometown cool feel. Um and depending on which depiction you saw of him, he was either the tech smart that he didn't necessarily get. I mean, they all, get bit by a spider, but
Right.
he made the gadgets. The kid always could, oh, okay, maybe I can make something, get that kind of brain juice flowing. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, superheroes were always cool to look up to. They're interesting in the fact that it's something so spectacular and so unfathomable that if you were to inherit that ability or those traits, you could be something of that,
Right.
essence.
No, that's amazing backstory behind it. I was gonna ask you because I know you're a coach of football and everything like
Mhm.
that. Me being a teacher, I teach obviously way younger than what you are coaching. But I mean, even like thinking about your kids that are playing for you, that are playing underneath you, and for me, my students that are learning from me. I have seen these superheroes make an impact on just these kids. I mean, alone.
Oh yeah.
There's these kids that are wearing Black Panther shirts. You hardly ever see an African American actor like Chadwick Boseman come in and play such a big role as Black Panther.
Hmm.
And these kids are growing up with that now, seeing that, knowing that there are people that look like them. You just had the brand new TV series Miss Marvel. They depict
Yeah.
on all of that side now. Now you can see like the background of like what it looks like in India and different stuff like that. And it's just like it's stuff that you don't get to see as much.
Hmm.
And now these kids growing up are seeing it.
Yeah, and the integration is nice. I mean, from the area that I am from, there's not a lot of other cultures around. And that's the tough part is because now as a football coach, I get everybody.
Right.
Like just because of the age group that I coach, which is by the way, 7th and 8th grade, and I love them to bits and pieces. They are amazing and they're all trying their best, but you get these people that look up to athletes that embody super and like superheroes. Like
Right.
you get, I mean, Cam Newton. I mean, that's the immediate one that comes to mind. I mean, he classified himself like Superman. He
Right.
does the Superman thing. Um, you get those cool connections that they weren't always making, that they can always look and find some sort of positivity in the light that they're in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, like you said, I mean, these different athletes give themselves these nicknames. I don't know if you know who
Mhm.
Donovan Mitchell is, but he considers
Mhm.
himself the Spider. So
Yeah.
he wears a lot of like he has a thing with Marvel that's a Spider-Man shoe. You have
Mhm.
different athletes, like you said, Cam Newton with Superman. So it's like these athletes that these kids, these students, these football players, basketball players, all these players are looking up to. They impicked this in a way. I don't know if you remember the dunk contest with I don't remember who was wearing it. I want to say Dwight Howard. I could be wrong on that. That wore
Yeah.
the Black Panther, did the Wakanda Forever thing, and did the dunk. But I don't remember if that was Dwight Howard. I could be wrong on that. But
I think Dwight Howard wore the Superman cape one
that's
time,
right.
if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're right. He did the Superman cape. I don't remember who wore, but somebody did a
Was
Black
it
Panther one. Um,
It might have been Giannis. I'm not 100% sure on
I
that,
can't.
though.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But it's like these things that these athletes are now integrating is these superheroes, and I think it's just awesome to see that a lot of these movies are now depicting different cultures, different ethnicities, and everything like that. Especially not just on Marvel side, but DC side, and
Mhm.
everything with that. So, well, those are awesome things that I would love to hear about. Love that they, impact our kids that we teach, the kids that we coach, and so on like that. Cool to hear kind of like how they impact for you as well.
Yeah.
Going into like, in the intro, I introduced you as, the Grandmaster Gamer, the man, the man of many gamer tags that are got to be the best gamer tags I've ever seen. So kind of more on the gaming side, we actually have not had this on this podcast. And for anybody that doesn't know, me and Ian pretty much met through video games and so on. So, do you have a favorite superhero slash villain video game? I haven't even said mine on this podcast, so after you share, I jump in and add with you.
Okay, so this might surprise you. So I am a giant fan of Ultimate Alliance.
Oh, okay. I
And
played it.
so one of my best friends, it was right after he had graduated college. So he had just moved back home and his father had bought a Switch, so him and his father could game together basically. And well, he bought Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and his dad just couldn't figure it out. So he invited me over, and we played the whole game in one night.
That,
Like, didn't sleep, unlocked all the characters, all that. Game was so much fun. The new one was so much fun,
yeah.
and I still remember playing the original one. I had to go over to a friend's house because I was too young to own it. My parents were a little more strict on the rating, which was
Right.
fine. But I think the first one was teen. And so when I went over to my friend's house, that's all I ever wanted to play because you always, and the best part was my file never saved. So I always played the same three missions.
You're just playing it over and over again.
Yeah, and I never finished the game. Never like got very far in it. But the three missions, let me tell you, I was good at those three missions.
I remember I think I played more of Ultimate Alliance 2. I know I played both, but I remember like the very first mission is like I almost like I can envision the whole mission is on the helicarrier. I remember it's exploding. I remember 2 out of 4 of the characters is Spider-Man and Wolverine. I cannot think of the other 2, but I know for sure one of them is Spider-Man. I know the other one's Wolverine. I just remember playing as Spider-Man and avoiding every single possible enemy just by swinging around, so I didn't get touched.
Skip everything.
Yeah, you could just swing through, and all while Wolverine's back there, fighting for his life. I'm just swinging away to go to the next area. Ultimate Alliance was fun.
It was, man. It was a blast. I'm trying to think of any other big ones. I actually just my wife got me the new one. Blanking on the name of it. Midnight Suns.
Oh, okay.
And so I actually am playing through that, which is kind of interesting. The combat's a little different. Obviously, it's more card based, but it has depictions of characters in them. I don't want to give any spoilers just in case anybody's playing the game, but you start the game out as Iron Man and Strange, but you meet I think they're called the Runaways, if I'm not mistaken, and they're labeled as the Midnight Suns. And so you have it's a different variation of Ghost Rider, which is kind of cool. You have Magic, which is one of my other top characters from MCU that hopefully will be introduced at some point in the future. And then who's a couple others? Well, they've got Spider-Man in it too, which is cool. And he's
I saw Captain Marvel also, I think, is in it.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting because you play your own superhero and you kind of light and dark kind of stuff. So.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I had seen, so when I first saw Midnight Suns, I really thought it was just a brand new Marvel game, which it is, but I thought it was like a story mode game, and I guess it still technically is. So I almost fully pre-ordered it, not knowing that it was a card-based game. And I went and watched some dude on Twitch, and I was watching him for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I was like, this guy's not even playing the right game. And then I tuned into another stream, and I was like, oh, this is what this game is. So knowing me, I would have gotten it. It still seems fun. It's just those like card games are kind of bad for me. Like I feel like I'm always so bad at them.
It's very tactical and slow.
Yes, I think that's what like gets me is that I just want to do the action like right away, and those games are very strategic.
Definitely.
My favorite, so I'm gonna do one that's older and one that's newer. The old one is Spider-Man. I want to say it's called Web of Shadows, something like that. I think. That was I remember playing that on the PS2, and that was like growing up was like one of my favorite games. The graphics were not the greatest, obviously, but it was just the fact that you were swinging as Spider-Man. I think that's what got me. To me, it was one of my, between that game and another game called Driver, those were like my first 2 ever experiences with like open world type of games. And it broke my mind that even existed, that I could just go wherever I want to. So as a young, I was probably 7 years old, playing a game where I am Spider-Man. I'm swinging around as Spider-Man. And, of course, around that time, Tobey Maguire movies were out, so, of course, I had seen them already. So in my head, I'm just envisioning me as Tobey Maguire swinging around this. But it also is just the story mode games too are just fantastic back then for me. I feel like the acting. I don't remember. I want to say it's a Spider-Man 3 video game that Tobey Maguire does the voices for, and it's like they're always really funny.
Yeah. Hey, to recap on that Web of Shadows. So I looked it up just real quick because I was curious because I couldn't remember if I was right. But Wolverine is in that.
Yes.
And so I looked it up, and just out of spur, the top thing was an Amazon ad for the game. And
Yeah.
apparently it's a cult classic, so people love it.
Good.
Obviously. Good game.
Yeah.
And good luck buying a copy. It's
Oh,
like
no.
$240.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So obviously
I'll choose a different favorite game. Oh my god, $200. I could not. I love those like classic games though, and that's like one of them. But yeah, there's no way I'd be paying $200 for it. But and then my newer, like one of my newer favorite games. This is definitely, well, of course, I really like the new Spider-Man games, the Spider-Man PS4 and the Miles Morales one. But my like under the radar game that I played, and we actually played it on stream, is the Guardians of the Galaxy game that just came out about a year and a half ago. Okay. We played it on stream, and it's the same company that made that Avengers game that got a lot of hate.
Yes.
So it's the same company. I think it's at Square Enix. I could be wrong, but I think that's Square Enix that made the game.
Yeah.
Might be right. And then Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and this was like their bounce back. And I remember playing it on stream, and it was a fantastic game. Getting to play, you technically only play as one person, which is Star-Lord, but you use the Guardians to team up like in different battles. So you can tell Drax to do this, you can tell Rocket to do this, Groot to do this. So it's really cool. That was one of my newer games that I really liked, and we played it on stream for about a week and a half, and it was fantastic. So I'm hoping to make a second one. And the ending was really good too.
I heard it overall, like, I mean, it was well founded. Just for some background, I worked at GameStop for about a year and a month.
Right.
So I mean, the game was constantly rotating. We were always having new and old, like pre-owned games because people were coming in and trading it in like quite often.
Right.
And so I think my only downfall that I ever really heard about it was that it was the fact that you could only play Star-Lord. And other than that, I think most players were like, we loved the story. It would just be cool to have integration of the other players.
Well, and the thing that comes to my mind is the Ultimate Alliance, where you can switch between characters. I thought going into that it was very similar to Ultimate Alliance, where, okay, I want to play a Star-Lord this mission. Let me switch to Drax this mission. But yeah, like you said, I think that's the only downside of that game. Story mode, the story behind it was fantastic. They had Adam Warlock. They had all these different things. They had Easter eggs. It was so much fun. But yeah, the downside to that, I think, was just being stuck as one person. But in general, the game to me was fantastic, and I knew that it got good reviews. I just didn't know how good or like how bad they were.
Gotcha. Yeah. Overall, I heard good things.
So talking about the favorite superhero games and talking about all that stuff. We have not even mentioned, I don't think, your favorite hero or your favorite anti-hero. I don't say villain. Sometimes they're not villains. You never know. Yeah. Sometimes they are pure out villains, like Thanos, in my opinion, is not really an anti-hero. He's more just a villain, but that's just me. Yeah. So who are your favorite either heroes, anti-heroes, either your favorite movie, your TV show, or just like some of your favorites?
Sure. So I'll start by saying like my favorite character in general would be Ironheart, Riri Williams. And I know she just got her screen time with the new Black Panther movie, which was awesome. And I kind of like her just because she's different and because that she is a very just overall interesting character to me. And I kind of did a little, background on her in like some of the comics, and I couldn't remember her AI's name. I couldn't remember if it was still Jarvis or if it was a new one, but in the comics she uses AI called Natalie. So I'm not sure if that'll come into play because she gets her TV series here.
Yeah,
but hopefully this year.
I think it is. I think the last time I saw, I think it is this year. I would assume so, since she was just in Black Panther. But
and then we have Doctor Strange is a longtime favorite, specifically because he's just interesting in general as a character and the people around him. I mean, when you think of Dormammu as a villain, like you just think of a true trump card. Um, and it's I just liked how they did that first movie with him
Yeah.
and how he came to be. And then you have the background where he's in the comics and he starts off as just like this black magic mage kind of looking guy.
Right.
And he has all these unique attributes and these artifacts on him. So he's this very odd character that comes to be very powerful. And um yeah, I just really liked him.
I look at him as the same level because I mean you think of comics also Doctor Strange goes way back, like
Yeah,
way
I
back.
think he first, I saw it. Here it is. So I think he debuted in what was the comic of Strange Tales, which is an anthology series in July of 1963.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I knew he went way
Apparently,
back there. Jeez,
yeah, is apparently a split book between, this is crazy to me. It was Doctor Strange and the Human Torch.
what a combo.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And so I was just kind of, it's kind of weird to see how our cinematic universe is evolving different, but yet in somewhat of a parallel as the comics
Right.
in certain days.
Yeah.
Obviously certain movies were way different. I mean,
Yeah,
they kind of,
we talked about that with Nick. Also, we talked about how like the movies and the comics. He asked us a question. He was like, as people that you guys know more about it, do you guys like get upset if comic books go the opposite direction of movies? And I said the only thing I said is no, as long as they do it right. So if they were
yeah,
to take, they took Iron Man. He does all these stuff in the comics, how he started, and they just completely changed him to make him like Captain America, where he took that shot and now he's just buff and is not really a billionaire. He's actually just a, everyday dude. So I was like, if they go way off, then obviously you're going to have those people that really love the comics be mad. But
yeah,
I feel like, I mean, MCU wise, even DC, I feel like, has done it to a very esteemed, like, up and down level, but it's never been like, oh, this is really bad, this is not even close to the comics, and oh, this is exactly how the comics did it. I feel like it's always like a little in the middle, kind of up and down.
right. No, I completely agree with that. And to kind of build on how you said they have to do it right, I think maintaining the overall character, um just I mean his main characteristics, right? I mean, if we looking at Iron Man, you take billionaire, you take technology genius,
Right,
and kind of arrogant, right? Like
right.
he is just that way,
That's who
or
he is.
cocky.
Yeah,
And if you change that about him, you don't get the same surrounding character. So it really affects everything else. Like the relationship between Spider-Man and Iron Man would change drastically.
yeah, yeah. It'd be more of a, he already is a father figure to Peter in a way, but he
Hmm.
never comes out and makes that known. To where if you switched up his personality to where all of a sudden Iron Man is checking to make sure he's doing homework, checking to make sure he's, staying out of fights, like all of that, then everybody would be like, well, what's the point of all this? Like, that's not Iron Man.
Completely agree with that. That would be very interesting to see, like this weirdly overprotective. I mean, he was in his own sense, right? He was protective of Peter,
Yeah.
but not necessarily in the like I'm standing over you, making sure you're not
He
doing
did all these like hidden things. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's like a TikTok or like a YouTube video of all of the things that went wrong he used to make right in Peter's suit. So
it.
like
I did see that.
So like when in Peter's suit, he got frozen over in Tennessee when his suit blows up or whatever, and he gets freezing cold from the snow. He put that heater inside Peter's suit, and
Which
then
is so cool.
he does like all these things. I don't know if you remember from Infinity War when he's trying to catch up to the ship, and he can't catch up. He was like, "Well, I don't." From when Rhodey fell, he couldn't catch up to Rhodey, so he added those boosters into his suit, so that way he could catch up to the ship that was being taken away with Doctor Strange. So it's
Gotcha.
all
Yeah,
these
I
things
didn't
that
see
he
that.
does. Yeah, he does all these things that he like integrates into either his suit, Peter's suit. He has that tracker in it, so he can track it and stuff like that. So, um,
It's awesome.
so talking, we talked about your favorite heroes and stuff like that. a little bit of an anti-hero. I'd like to know who your favorite villain is.
Yeah, so I talked about Venom with you briefly over text. I love his just entire persona basically.
Yeah.
Because he really could just go either way and he always plays it the best way for himself. And they
Yes.
do that very well in the movies. I mean, he always wants good but bad, right? He
Right.
needs to survive, but there's he can find other ways to do that. And obviously, Eddie has some, you know, flexible morals some days.
Right. Right.
But I think that just plays into Venom so well. And I thought Carnage was awesome. I thought Carnage was really
Yeah.
cool. Overall, I thought the movie was all right, but I just loved in general like the action and what was going
Right.
on in it. So, but yeah, I mean Venom in general is just kind of interesting. I play Marvel Champions card game quite a bit. And so in that they have some different Venom-esque villains. And the
Right.
newest one that I just played was Venom Goblin.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And the art for it's really cool.
Right.
He looks more menacing because he has, I mean, the symbiotes
Right.
and it's the Green Goblin and it's like affecting what he does and all this. So it's interesting because he always has this aspect of controlling multiple minds or having an influence in them in this passive way.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen What If on
Yes.
Disney Plus. I really would love for whenever Sony and Disney figure out this whole Spider-Man universe and Disney and whenever they figure that out, a What If series is like what if the black symbiote suit went to Iron Man? What if the black symbiote suit went to Scarlet Witch? Like some of these like what
Oh,
if things. Like I just feel like we're robbed of that right now until Sony and Disney can stop fighting like divorced parents and just make
yeah.
up and we could have so much right now. It's just we're getting there. We got blessed to have the new Spider-Man movie. We got very blessed
Mhm.
that they allowed it. But now we're just like, okay, well what's next? And like you said, Venom has so many different things in the comics, video games, where he's taking over different people. He takes over the Hulk. He takes
Mhm.
over different people. I'm trying to think the other one. Obviously, he takes over Eddie Brock, but he takes over Spider-Man, obviously from the movie, stuff like that. We're just robbed of so many of those things, but also blessed at the same time to have them in different aspects of not just movies and TV shows. We have them in video games and comics and stuff.
Oh yeah. And I kind of briefly mentioned Dormammu. I think Dormammu in general is kind of a cool bad guy. We don't
Right.
know obviously a lot about him. But my other kind of if I were to pick like an odd one would be Doctor Doom.
Okay. Yeah.
Um Weirdly enough, he I think he kills Doctor Strange in one of the comics. I was
Right.
reading something about that, so it's kind of cool. And just all these weird crossovers we think are so far-fetched,
Right.
but eventually, I mean, if they continue going, they really could
That may
happen
not
like
be. Yeah.
anything.
Right. Well, we're about to see in the new one, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, not right now. But I
Mhm,
mean, we're seeing Kang now. We're seeing Kang and Ant
mhm.
Man. Like that's just like in my head. Never would I like 5 years ago would I have been like, yeah, I'm gonna see Kang the Conqueror and Ant Man in the same movie and stuff like that. Like and like I mean, even in the Black Panther movie, we saw Ironheart join Black Panther. Like in my mind, I don't know if that's in the comics. It could be, but in my mind, that's not the first thing I think of when I think
Right.
Ironheart is Ironheart and she's in Wakanda and like that's just stuff like that's brilliant. Like
Yeah.
you put a tech person like Riri Williams with vibranium. You would have done that with Iron Man and Tony Stark. Tony Stark would have built the
Oh.
great suit ever. So
Oh yeah,
it's like those
absolutely.
things that they're doing that are really cool to see that are kind of mixing well together now. But
Yeah. Well, and another thing, and I don't know if this is true, but I saw that Thunderbolts is going to introduce the new metal, which is adamantium,
ooh,
which
okay,
is supposedly Wolverine's claws.
yes,
And
yeah,
so, when in the new Thunderbolts, they apparently go to I forget what the enemy is called, the giant enemy that they were basically fighting at the end of the Eternals that appears out of the water.
oh,
Um,
I know who you're talking about, yeah,
yeah, so it's that, and now that it's frozen over, basically frozen in time or whatever.
right,
Um, it's being inhabited, so they go and visit that, and apparently that they use the metal from that machine or enemy, and it is adamantium.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see. Well, I mean, we still have not had Wolverine yet in the MCU. We had the announcement with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I think we showed a clip of this last week, or 2 weeks ago, whatever we posted it. But yeah, I think it's awesome that we're getting closer and closer to probably. I mean, we know the Avengers, we know Hawkeye, we know Captain America, we know all these people already.
Yeah.
And I know people always don't like change; they don't like where it's going, but. How many years can you really go on making 7 Captain America movies, 8 Iron Man movies? Like, there's got to be a change. The only one that you can really do that with is honestly Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I feel like it never gets old.
Yeah, I know. Spider-Man. But Spider-Man has so much outreach that he has. I mean, you got to think of how many enemies he has. He has so many more nemesis. Nemesis? I don't know how to say that.
Right.
Than anybody else, in my opinion.
And we haven't even seen half of them, or quarter of them.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah, he's growing for sure. They're all growing. But all right, we have a returning segment that Ethan started for us. Again, Ethan couldn't be here with us if you're kind of listening in randomly. Ethan could not be in with us today due to the time and UK time, USA time. So for him, it's like midnight when we're recording this. But something that Ethan started is called the Minute Marvel. We're gonna ask you. I believe I have 12 questions ready to go. You may not get to the 12th one, obviously. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. May not get to the 12th one, but we have 12 ready for you. They range from Moon Knight to Doctor Strange to Ironheart and so on. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, I got the timer on my phone. I'm going to try to do my best to kind of multitask and look at both, but
okay.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. What are the 3 personalities of Moon Knight?
Oh, gosh.
You can skip if you need to.
Okay, let's skip. I don't know how to name them.
Okay, what is the god that the Moon Knight gets his powers from?
Oh, I know this. Come on. The Egyptian god.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name.
I'll go to the next one. Who is the person that Venom shares a body with in the movie?
Eddie.
Okay, in Doctor Strange, what is the girl's name that Doctor Strange helps jump universes?
Jumps universes. Clea.
Who is the new Sorcerer Supreme in the movies? Who's the new Sorcerer Supreme?
Stephen Strange.
Wanda, a.k.a. Scarlet Witch, gets her powers from the book of...
Oh my god. It starts with a C. I can't think.
Ironheart attends college in the new Black Panther. What college does she go to?
MIT.
Okay, that was a minute. Okay, so I'll read off the rest of them. You can just answer them. Okay. So who else goes to the same who else goes to the same college as her in the MCU? It's technically doesn't say it, but if you plug 2 and 2 together, there's 2 other people that attend MIT with her technically.
Let me think. And it's people we already know, like in the MCU?
Yes, we have had them in multiple movies.
Okay. So my guess, if I can remember, I guess he's not in it though. I don't know that I know.
The answer is Ned and MJ. Because at the end of No Way Home.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The next question is, what stone does Doctor Strange hold?
It's the time?
Yep.
Yeah, time.
In Infinity War, why does Doctor Strange give up the stone to Thanos so easily?
Because there was only one situation to win.
Very, very good. And then the last one is, how many characters can you name from the Illuminati from the new Doctor Strange movie? 1 point for each one.
From the Illuminati. So it would be Professor X.
Okay.
Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
The alternate universe Captain America. Black Bolt.
Okay.
Oh, who's the other one? Oh, it's their Captain Marvel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's technically one more that they end up killing. Actually, two more.
Yeah. Okay.
2 more. Sorry.
It's more. Is it Mordo?
Yeah. Yep. You got that one, and then there's technically one more. I would not have gotten this one if I'm honest with you.
Oh, let me.
The last
Oh,
one,
it's his wife, isn't it?
no. The last
Uh,
one is Doctor Strange before they killed him. Because he was a part of the Illuminati, but then
oh, okay.
they ended up killing him.
Gotcha.
So you said their version of Captain America, Captain Carter. Is that who you meant?
Yes, Captain Carter. Yeah.
Peggy. Okay. You got Black Bolt. Yeah, you got all of them for that one. Okay, so the ones that you answered, it says, what are the three personalities of Moon Knight? They are Mark,
Okay. Yeah,
Steven,
Mark.
and Jake. Jake Lockley,
That's right.
Steven, I can't remember, and Mark Spector.
Stephen Grant.
Yes, Stephen Grant, Mark Spector.
Mark's
And then Jake Lockley we meet at the very end.
very end. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't for sure on the last one. I remember when you said Mark Spector, and then I was like, oh, Stephen Grant. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And then what is the god that Moon Knight gets his powers from? It's Khonshu.
Anshu. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one was a little bit harder. You got the who is the person that Venom shares a body with. In Doctor Strange, what is the girl's name that Doctor Strange helps jump universes? It's American Chavez.
Oh, I was thinking of the girl at the end. My bad.
No, you're good. And then who's the new Sorcerer Supreme? I heard you say oh after this one. Did you know it?
Was it
He's
no, I don't think I knew this one.
this is it's Wong.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yep, I remember
He
that
takes
now.
he takes over because Strange gets snapped away, so he becomes the new Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, doesn't he leave with Clea? I thought that was what the extra credit scene was.
Doctor Strange leaves with Clea. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, and then Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch, gets her powers from the book of Fashanti.
Shanty, that's what it was. I don't
Yeah.
know what I was thinking with the C. Maybe that was her.
No, those ones were pretty hard. Let me see how many you got right. Then you got that
I
one.
think I only got four. Is that right? 4 or 5?
2, 3. Yeah, three of them. Three of them. Yep.
It's more than 0, so.
Hey, it's not bad. I actually want to talk about real quick. I didn't really mention this to you, but I kind of want to talk about. We haven't really talked too much about this TV show, but I have said this on one of the previous podcasts. The Moon Knight TV series, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated TV series. What are your thoughts, just on Moon Knight as a character, but also the TV series?
I have gotten so much backlash for this opinion, but I think Moon Knight is the best TV series for the Marvel Cinematic Universe because of just how good they do his separate personalities
Yes.
and his like you can see his I mean I in my opinion I think he actually has dissociative identity order and
Right.
disorder like and that's a true fact. I mean, when you see him go into his other things and he thinks he has these other lives, I think that's truly just straight up the medical diagnosis of that. And when he gains his powers, I think he has different types of confidence in himself, which is so cool and so well done.
Yeah. He had Moon Knight the TV series reminded me of like in a way like Shutter Island. I don't know if you've ever seen Shutter Island, but
Ooh, it's been a long time, but yeah.
wherever they they put on this whole play for, to make him snap out of he's trying to erase everything that had happened. Like I feel like with this personality, he has that personality disorder where he can go through all three of these, well, in the TV series really it's two, but technically three personalities. Yeah. And each one has their own special thing. Mark Spector is more, skittish in a way. He doesn't like messing with stuff. Or sorry, is it Mark or is it Steven? Which one? I think Mark is. Man, no, maybe Mark Spector is. He's the British one, right? He's the UK one.
I believe so.
I'm about to look it up. I don't remember if he's the UK one or if he's the. I can't remember now. But either way, you have the different ones that have. They have different personalities. They have different ways of living, and Oscar Isaac, in my opinion, absolutely killed that role.
For sure.
I mean, that's got to be difficult to act two different personalities. Like, one, first of all, he's changing accents. I mean, I know, actors are trained on accents, but
sure,
I mean, he's doing that with not even an accent. He's doing that, changing it back and forth, and then changing the way he's moving, the way he's walking, the way he looks, and the face. He's doing all these things just between two people.
Yeah, and so I did find it. So Mark Spector was the more like badass version.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he was the violent protector. Stephen Grant was the British Museum.
Gotcha.
And then when you see at the end, I mean, obviously Jake Lockley was the kind of like mafia kind of
Yeah.
feel to him.
Yes. Yeah, that I Moon Knight, like you said, you think it's one of the best. I put it in my top 3 for sure, and I think that TV series wise, we haven't had anything. I liked Loki. Loki was my number 1. Number 2 for me, honestly, would probably be Moon Knight. So it's actually probably my top 2. But I think that TV series really, again, hit. I mean, when's the last time we've seen any type of like Egyptian superhero movie
Yeah.
or TV show?
It's so cool. Like
Yeah.
in the general aspect of it is just so interesting. And they talk about the other gods, about how they have people connected to them,
Right.
which once again opens the universe up to all these other people and villains. And it's just so cool how they're able to do that in such and they make it seem so simple.
Right. So talking about all that, I mentioned my top 3, top 2, talking about, your favorite. Minute Marvel went all right, I guess. It was a little. You definitely, out of all of the 3 guests we have had, have definitely had the most difficult Minute Marvel to today. Like I can't lie to you, I Googled probably 3 or 4 of these things because I was just like, I don't know any of these. So hats off to you for getting at least 3 of them, because I know a lot of these I would have struggled on. But something we are starting in this podcast now, it's brand new. It's called the Blizzy Breaking News, where we just break down different news going around the movie world. We talk about it real quick. We don't spend too much time on it, but we just talk about some breaking news, whether it's a new trailer, whether it's, breaking news about a movie, about an actor that's maybe in a superhero movie, and so on. So there's a brand new segment we are starting. We're going to go ahead and start that segment right now, and we're going to go ahead and actually talk about, it's a little bit sadder on the sadder side to start, but actually some positive news just came out of it as of like 30 minutes ago. So talking about the Jeremy Renner incident, Ian, I know I just kind of briefly went over you, but for our listeners at home, if you don't know, Jeremy Renner, who plays Hawkeye in the Avengers and just a very known actor in the acting world, recently had a very bad snowplow accident, where the snowplow had ran over one of his legs, and he had lost crazy amount of blood. He had to have a neighbor came over that was actually luckily a doctor and did a tourniquet on his leg. It just had to get life flighted out to a hospital. As of probably about 40 minutes now of this podcast coming out, he just posted a picture to Instagram saying that he's in a lot of pain, obviously, but he just wanted to let everybody know that he is fine. So, very positive news coming out of it. It was just very scary yesterday. We didn't get a lot of updates. We heard about it in the morning, and then after that, all we knew is that he was in critical condition. So, positive news coming out of that, but they're actually now treating that as a crime scene in a way. They're investigating it because they say that snowplow, the way that the neighbor explained it, is that snowplow has so many different safety precautions on it that there's no way that it should have even ran him over.
Yeah, and so which to me is crazy. And they making it seem like this may have been a setup, which I hope it's not. You never wish ill intent on anybody.
Right.
I'm very glad to see that he's doing all right. I mean, for the most part, he's obviously still not doing great, but he's better than he was. And thank goodness for that neighbor being there. Right.
Yeah. I know I've seen a picture of like where he lives in, like, because he lives up in the mountains. I can't think of the state, but he lives up in the mountains, and like they just got a bunch of snow, and so they had to life flight him out because they said that they could not get a vehicle up there, and they said that they literally were out there like trying to clear a path for them to even land the helicopter in the first place. So looking around where he lived, there's not a lot of people that are around him, and especially as an actor and actress, you typically, unless you're living LA, typically if you're living away from LA lifestyle, New York lifestyle, you typically live far away from others. So thank God that he had not only a neighbor around, but a neighbor that happens to be a doctor.
Yeah, which is just crazy.
So, yeah.
I believe he lives, is it Reno? Is that right?
That sounds about right.
Okay, yeah.
But I know he has like multiple. I just watched he did a podcast, not a podcast. He did an interview a while ago promoting a new TV series, and he talked about he has like a winter, like where he goes and stays for the winter and stuff. So I'm not quite sure where that estate is, but so that was the Jeremy Renner news. You know, it was kind of scary. This happened as we're recording this. It was yesterday. When you guys are hearing it, it would have been on Monday, the 2nd. So we got that news very, very early in the morning that he had gotten life flighted out. But again, like I said, as of like 45 minutes ago, January 3rd, we just heard some positive news with him posting that, you know, he's fine. He is obviously still in hospital care and being taken care of. But on a little bit positive news, however, we did have a few weeks ago, we had the brand new Into the Spider-Verse trailer. I don't know, Ian, have you seen it?
So I have seen it, and I'm very interested on what the twist is because it seems odd.
Yes.
Like, it seems so good. Like, I'm so excited for it. I loved the first one. Love.
Yeah, and we're going to see all the different Spider-Mans. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be an overload of just, that dude's cool. But did you see this guy?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and there's going to be, I mean, even in the trailer, how many you think Easter eggs are in there? Like, I mean, there's got to be so many in there.
Oh, for sure. And just like, there were, I'm sure, I mean, obviously, I can't thank the man himself enough, Stan Lee, for everything he did for this. Like, just truly made this possible and admirable in every sense. Yeah. And so it's always cool just see those little cameos of him. But like, when you look at the background, you see all those little Spider-Men, and like, you know, what's crazy is that every single one of them probably has a comic book about
it. They all have their own story.
Yeah. And it's like, they created that and he started, you know, it's just so cool.
Well, and
so good.
Two, we just got done talking about Moon Knight, and we got done talking about the one and only Oscar Isaac. Well, he is actually playing Spider-Man 2099, which is in this case the main villain, Miguel O'Hara. He's actually the voice actor. So not only this man's just getting his Marvel paycheck at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Which good for him.
Good at it.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it. So, but I'm excited to see that. We watched. I had a reaction channel video, and in the background, one of the biggest Spider-Man that I could see. Well, for me, was a big Spider-Man. Was the Spider-Man PS4 was on there. So he'll be in the movie. So it'll be cool to see the Spider-Man video game character coming in. And then there was also. There was also another one of like the Spider-Man 2 video game from PS2, and they put him in there, and it's funny just to see how bad the graphics look. They put him in there.
The polygons.
Yes.
The polygons.
It looks so good. It's just cool to see. But so we had the new Spider-Man trailer. That movie drops June 2nd. That is, of course, another Marvel / Sony movie. Follow up to Into the Spider-Verse. We have the upcoming movie, actually technically the earliest Marvel movie that we have this year is the new Ant-Man movie, which they dropped a trailer probably a few months ago by now. But how much have you heard, or how excited are you for the new Ant-Man movie?
So although not a big Ant-Man and Wasp fan, I'm pretty excited for it because I enjoyed the original Ant-Man movie a lot.
Yeah.
I'm also just a huge Bill Murray fan.
Yeah.
I think he is awesome. He has played in so many movies that I love. And I mean, it's just hard to hate such a generational talent like that. Yeah. And Paul Rudd being, I believe he's a local guy to us. I mean, he went to KU,
right?
If I'm not mistaken.
He does a bunch of Kansas City stuff. He always has that softball.
It's just awesome to see that. And so I'll definitely go see it. I haven't seen a lot about it. I obviously watched the trailer. Me and my best friend go and see every movie with his dad, and usually our friends. And yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because it involves so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're in the quantum realm. Their main villain is now going to be what I heard James Gunn talk about before he left the Guardians. Or sorry, not James Gunn. Kevin Feige talk about that Kang is going to be the new Thanos of this upcoming phase. So we saw Kang in Loki, very short, but we saw Kang. He got killed by, well, if you haven't seen, it's been 2 years now, so go watch it. But he got killed at the end, and he says, "See you soon." and it's one of the hardest lines as he's being killed. He's smiling and says, "See you soon," because we know that Kang is, in charge of the timeline. So he sees that he already knows he's going to be killed. So that means he has already alerted the next Kang, and supposedly this Kang is not to be messed with. So the upcoming Kang, I'm very excited to see. We saw, in the trailer, we got to see him talk to Ant-Man. Again, I'm not a huge Ant-Man and the Wasp fan. I really love Paul Rudd, but I do think this movie is going to be up there. The other one I forgot to throw in here, that movie comes out February 17th, so very soon. The other movie I completely forgot to throw in here is the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We had a new trailer for that drop. That movie comes out May 5th, so not too long after the Ant-Man movie.
Day before my birthday.
There you go. Look at that. A little early birthday present for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinions when it comes to the Guardians movies?
So I liked the first one just because of what it was.
Yeah.
Right. It was a way different spin on a Marvel hero kind of esque.
Right.
And it was a group. Right.
Yes.
This is truly the first group we've seen.
Right.
And to see all the inner turmoil between everybody, and I mean the whole Nebula aspect of it is always interesting. I mean, then you get Mantis tied in there, and
right,
and somewhat of teen Groot.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really good. And I love just Peter Quill. He's just funny.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
We talked about I talked about this on stream, how I don't know how they picked such a perfect cast, but they did. To play the Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Pratt plays Star-Lord so well. Will Poulter is coming up on this new one. I don't know if you saw him in the trailer, but Adam Warlock is now coming to the MCU, and in the trailer he looked fantastic.
Sweet.
So I'm excited to see that. And then obviously, the greatest actor in the movie, Vin Diesel playing Groot. I mean, he's got the hardest lines ever between either "I am Groot" or "We are Groot."
Yeah, and I love saying this about who I'm about to describe. So Drax,
right,
obviously played by Dave Bautista.
Go.
So here's what I love about that. Dave Bautista would have been the most awkward character in the world.
Yes.
But because he's playing Drax, he's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, he plays him to perfection because of who he is.
Yes, he's just so good at it.
He's a retired WWE wrestler. He did entertainment for years. Don't get me wrong. He was an entertainer for very many years before this, but coming into acting, you don't see very many actors come from WWE other than John Cena and The Rock. Those are the two main ones, and then you have Dave Bautista, who comes in and plays probably one of the biggest movies at the time when it came out, which was Guardians 1, and everybody loved him in it, so... Guardians 1 drops May 5th, like I said, 2023, so we got those movies. And then the final season, again, we're hitting the DC universe a little bit too. We hit both sides here. I know mostly we're talking about Marvel, but when it comes to DC just doesn't have a lot to talk about right now. But something to talk about is the very final season of The Flash. It comes out February 8th, very soon. Obviously, The Flash with Grant Gustin. I watched it when I was younger. I can't lie to you, I stopped watching... I say when I'm younger, it came out in 2014, but I watched the first 3 or 4 seasons. But I kind of just stopped watching after. I know it's on the CW. Have you ever seen it before?
So my best friend is a huge Flash fan. It's actually his favorite superhero.
Yeah.
And I say that his favorite DC superhero, his favorite true hero, I think, is actually Spider-Man. But it's very interesting. He's kept up to date with the Flash completely. Right. Watched the whole series. He also watched Arrow, so he stays up to date on both sides. And it's kind of interesting because he overall loves the show, but it kind of had a lull for a while where it wasn't as good, and then now so it's, from what I've heard, it's picking way back up. Right. So
so the hate that it got was the CGI. It was never the acting. It was never the acting. It was never really that. It was just the CGI got so bad at one point, and then from what I heard, again, I stopped watching after season 3 or 4. That my brother Tanner, if he's watching or listening, is the biggest Flash fan I have ever met. I will come home for the holidays, and instead of watching a Christmas movie, we're watching The Flash season 5, episode 4. Like, it's just that's just who he is. He doesn't care anything The Flash he will watch. But I've asked him before. I was like, "Oh, how's the new season? How's the new season?" Like, I'm always interested. I always want to know, and he's always like, it's all right. It's the same thing as last season." Like, he always just explains it like, and he's a diehard Flash fan, so he would tell me the truth. He said that the story to it is gotten really good. He was like you're getting different types of Flashes. You're getting him exploring like different universes because of how fast he can run, stuff like that. So it's cool to see, but I mean, it's just unfortunate that DC TV show not only is coming to an end, but it just happens to be on the CW. And I feel like between having a DC TV series on HBO Max, I feel like the CW and HBO Max are kind of like, HBO probably makes a little bit more money, in my opinion, than the CW. Now, the CW still has some big shows, but HBO Max, I feel like, is what probably they should release it on.
And my spin on it is you have Flash, you have Arrow, and I know there's a couple other good TV series I don't want to be dragged because I don't know too many, but the tough part is they don't have a lot to play with, right? When you look at Marvel, they have all these things already set up, and because DC has been set back, what I feel like is 5-6 years because of different movies not doing well and overall just not enough screen time for a lot of different heroes, that they don't have the plateau, or they're having a plateau in their content where they have these set shows like Flash, Arrow, all them to continue, but there's nothing else going on, especially with, I mean, we briefly mentioned the Wonder Woman movie got canceled. Or pushed back or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just with DC, and we talked about this in the last episode too, it's just DC has this promise now coming in. James Gunn is taking over, and he's the new Kevin Feige, essentially. Yeah. And the first thing he does is when he gets there, he fires Superman, a.k.a. Henry Cavill. Like, he just fires him. And Henry Cavill even comes out with a post saying that, that he supports James Gunn's decision, but you can tell he's upset. So that's the first thing he does. Then he cancels the Wonder Woman's movie that's supposed to be coming out. Then he's possibly canceling the new Black Adam movie. It's just like, so these things coming in is, we're finally getting a DCU. We're getting Wonder Woman. We're finally having the Flash come in, who's going to be a part of the Justice League. You have Aquaman. They're canceling Aquaman 2 now. Or after Aquaman 2, that's the last one. So, like, it's like you have Aquaman 1 and 2. Okay, great. We're moving in the right way. He's in Justice League. And now what's next? And there's nothing. And I feel like DC is falling off, unfortunately, because of that.
Well, and I think what he's the overall director is doing is he wants to base everything on, like, I'll just say these 3 main principles. I don't know what these 3 main principles, but let's say these are our building blocks. And as we go out, that's when we expand. But until we have these 3 main building blocks, which in my opinion are going to be Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. They are going to maybe, once again, and I hate that they are going to do this, hopefully not, remake the Starter movie, be like, okay, here's a Batman movie. This is the universe. Like, this is where we're going from now. And here's a Wonder Woman movie. Now, I don't think they need to remake the Wonder Woman movies. I think they are fantastic. In general, I really, really like them. And the Superman movies, and this could be the same for the Batman, is there so many? I don't know necessarily. I'm sure I could look up which ones to watch, but there's so many different ones. There's so many variations.
There's different actors. There's different types of There's a Supergirl TV series. There's a Superman that's in that TV series now. So it's the thing with Justice League is, we talked about this too in the last episode. They need to find their Robert Downey Jr. for Batman. They need to find their Steve Rogers, or they need to find their Chris Evans that could play, Superman. Like, they need to stick to these actors. And like you said, there's so many different variations. Like, in my opinion, if we're going to have a DCU, so does that mean Robert Pattinson's the new Batman since he just had the Batman come out? Is he now the new Batman, or are we still looking at somebody else to play him? So what is the point of that movie other than it's just a solo movie? You have the Joker Joker movie that just came out. They have a Joker 2 coming out. So is it Joao Felix? No. What's his name?
Yeah, João
Wokan.
Felix, isn't that right?
Is it Wokan? I can't think of his
Well,
name. Why can't I think of his name?
Felix is the soccer player.
Yeah, Zhao. Yeah, that's why. As soon as I said it, I was like, I don't think it's Zhao Felix. That's a soccer player. But is it Joaquin Phoenix? Is that his name?
Joaquin, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Okay,
we butched that.
we were so far. As soon as I said it, I was like, I don't think that's right. I think that's a soccer player. I played too much FIFA. So is he the new Joker, or are we gonna have a different Joker, like from the TV series? I don't know if you ever saw the TV series Gotham, but there was a Joker in that. So like, I don't know. My thing with DC, and I've said this before, is that they just need to find those set actors.
Yeah. Solidify who they have.
Right.
Build off of that. I mean, also, just to go back on the Robert Pattinson thing. And that movie, just like from what I've heard, he was perfect.
He was,
like,
and it was a fantastic movie.
So good.
Yes, and they need to now jump on that. Like, I feel like that's what they need to do. But again, they now have James Gunn taking over. I don't agree with him firing Henry Cavill. I don't agree with him canceling Aquaman. I don't agree with him canceling Wonder Woman. Like, these things are... But, it's James Gunn. He made Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody loved it, so, take a chance with it. He made I believe he was a director on a few episodes of Peacemaker. Okay. Like, he's doing these right things. It's just you need to jump on that. But in general, that's what in general DC talk wise. Again, not a lot to talk about without repeating ourselves every episode. But Ian, we appreciate you coming on the Superhuman Lab podcast. Again, we have a giveaway going on thanks to Ian of the Iron Man Gauntlet. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's this thing right here. But if you're listening on Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or any of the other podcast websites, head on over to Twitter at Superhuman Lab on Twitter. That's super_human_lab, because somebody took Superhuman Lab from us, but that's okay. But check out the tweet, tag somebody below, tag a friend, retweet it, and then tell us your favorite superhero. That is how you get entered in. Again, by the time you guys are listening to this, the tweet will be live, so check it out there. Again, Ethan will be back with us next week, hopefully. Just a time difference just kind of messed us up. But Ian, anything else you want to add?
No, thank you for having me. It's been a great time, and just enjoy the next movies.
All right, guys. Thank you guys again. Make sure you guys, download the episode. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. We'll be posting a lot of content 2023. And thank you guys so much for listening to the Superhuman Lab podcast.